Thank you, Mark. Thank you, friends. I hope you take a moment to thank yourselves for being here. I want to invite you to take a moment to thanking yourself. You know, we start the Jewish day by expressing gratitude. And the first word is modeh moda. I acknowledge I am grateful. Grateful I am, rather. And I want to start this sit with that, with gratitude for this space. For a space where Jews from really all over can meet, for a half hour of meditation, 15 minutes of discussion, 45 minutes of practice in the day, every day. Just a moment to really just appreciate that this exists. That the space has been created by IJS, that the sessions are really facilitated by Adi, hosted by Mark, and sometimes by Josh, who are just holding space. And then each of you, really, because if there was no one in the Zoom, there would be no one to share the practice with. So I want you to take a moment, and Mark was mentioning Sheila's A+ for showing up. And this is so true. So true. I had a yoga teacher who's saying, what's the hardest part of a yoga class? Showing up. And it's true, right? It's like it's incredible how much we all know what's good for us, and then how tempting it is always to say, oh, but I don't really have time right now, and I have a meeting soon, or I have these emails to write, and I could do so many things. I could do so many things in this half hour. And then there is something in all of us who came here today, who are here right now. Also you who are on Facebook with us. And you who are watching this from the recording. I'm talking to the future right now. Who are watching the podcast and the YouTube video. There's something in you that felt deep inside like a calling that was stronger than your resistance. And that said, there is something more important than doing. And I need this time. I need to stop. I need to pause. Just so I can be present for a moment. Just so I can attend to what is. Because I know how much that transforms me. And even just talking about it, I already feel in my system, in my body. I don't know if you can feel it. I can feel it. Some form already of relaxation. Like I'm noticing that there was a little tension I didn't even notice, like in my forehead, and I'm feeling it kind of like relax. Just by talking about stopping and being present. And obviously, if you've meditated, you know that it doesn't just bring relaxation, that it doesn't just bring insight. And sometimes even tikkun, healing. That also just because we are cultivating here the ability to be fully present to what we're doing. And I'm going to kind of detox my system. Then I also know that, kind of like the cherry on the cake, I'm actually going to be more efficient after when I get back to doing things. So it's really, really precious. Really precious. And so a moment of gratitude now, not just for ourselves, but for each other, for IGS, for people holding space for us to support us in our practice. for free, right? Because this Zoom link is available for free. We can show up every day for free. It's there for us to support us. So we're going to sit for 3 minutes before we go into learning, before we go to sit again, but just so that we can make some space for the learning itself. So I invite you to turn within gently. Maybe it's very easy for you. Maybe it's a familiar thing to turn the gaze within, to close your eyes, or to gaze down. Maybe it's not so familiar, maybe it's a bit scary, uncomfortable. And if that's the case, I want you to imagine that I'm holding you by the hand. We're all doing this together, very, very slowly at our own pace, as much as the system agrees. To turn to the body, to come and meet our own body. Through meeting our heartbeat. Through meeting maybe the next in-breath. And the next out-breath. How about we meet them with the same warmth, presence, and kindness that we would meet a dear friend or a child, someone we love, that we will meet them with. The same loving attention. And perhaps in the moments where I'm not talking, perhaps even in the moments where I'm talking, you have thoughts coming up. Thoughts about other things. That's very natural. So how about you're meeting them too, with the same kindness, the same loving kindness. Kind of unconditional loving kindness, whether they're happy thoughts or stressed thoughts, unpleasant thoughts. Because the mother knows that whether her child is happy or crying, what's going to make them feel good is if they're met with kindness, with loving kindness, especially actually if they're not happy. So when we meet our unhappy thoughts with kindness, without judging them, we allow the system to relax. Because there is no resistance, no judgment. And the thoughts and feelings feel accepted, heard and accepted. And those really are the two wings I see in practice, and the two wings of mindfulness practice, which is commonly defined as kind attention, paying kind attention, not just paying attention, but bringing kindness to our gaze, because only a kind gaze can heal. And I want to invite us to look at this today in the light of this upcoming parasha, the upcoming parasha of this week. So Adi, if we can look at the source sheet, and Adi just posted it in the Dropbox. Thank you so much. You're wonderful. So there is a pasuk, there is a verse, which is one of my favorite. Katonti mikol hachasadim umikol haemet, asher asita et avdecha. I have I've made myself small, which is a way of saying I incline myself, I bow my head, you know. It's a positive thing. It's like a way of saying, wow, kavod. Just like, you know, in the prayer of the Amidah, when we finish, we bow and we say, modim anachnu lach. We are grateful. And maybe you've experienced this in your life, right? This kind of spontaneous, when we feel really grateful, spontaneous impulse, inclination, literally to incline, to bow, right? Katanti mikol hachasadim mikol haemet. From all the loving kindness and all the truth that you did to your servant. It's Yaakov speaking to God. Like it's very humbling. That's what he's saying. It's very humbling to me to realize, to be in touch with all the kindness and all the truth that I've received from God. And it always touched me very much that he is bringing these two qualities side by side and balancing each other, kindness and truth, which is very close in a way to the two kind of like complementary qualities that we see in the tree of life, in the system of the Sfirot. And Adi, if we can go down, I'll try to do it myself. Let's see if I manage. Go down in the page. Yes, I can. Thank you. To the last page. Hold on. Wait. To the. Sorry. Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much. So here in the middle, we have chesed on the one side, so loving kindness, and gvura on the other side. Gvura, which is strength, din. And I think we can kind of equate it with truth. So each balancing each other, because truth alone can be harsh, too harsh maybe. And chesed without truth becomes, you know, weakness and complacency. So chesed ve'emet, and let's go a little bit up in the page. In the Pirkei Avot, actually, the first chapter of the Pirkei Avot repeats. Thank you so much, Adi. I'm sorry for the confusion. The first chapter of the Pirkei Avot repeats twice. Thank you so much. At the very end of it and at the very beginning of it, twice, three things upon which the world stands, and it's not the same things. And the first time it says that the world stands al haTorah ve'al avodah ve'al gmilut chasedim. The world stands on Torah, instruction, teaching, avodah, service, divine service, and acts of loving kindness. And then at the end of the same chapter, it says again, you know, al shloshah dvarim ha'olam kayam, al hadin ve'al ha'emet ve'al ha'shalom. The world stands on three things, or exists on justice, on truth, and on peace. And that's the invitation for our meditation today. Very, very classic, simple mindfulness instruction. Mindfulness of our thoughts, meeting our thoughts with kindness and truth. You know, having the kind of courage of truth, the courage of looking at things as they are, but meeting what we meet with kindness. no judgment, just total radical acceptance, and still using our bodies as an anchor. Thank you so much, Hadi. So let's practice, friends. I want to invite you now for these not even 10 minutes of formal practice that we have now to devote your full attention to this practice. Because really what you're going to get from it depends on what you're going to bring to it. So a moment to really deciding to offer your full attention to yourself, to your body. To simply being there right now with what is. Connecting again to the breath, or if you prefer to, a point in your body that you can feel, maybe your hands inside each other, maybe the feeling of your legs on the floor, the feet on the floor. Choosing an anchor in your body. So that you can ground your presence in the here of now. And as thoughts are going to come up, meeting them with these two attributes, truth and kindness. And then we come back to the body. Just as simple as that. And we repeat that 1,000 times if need be, with truth and kindness. Shining the light of truth and kindness to everything we meet, to every thought, to our practice itself. And coming back to our presence, our embodied presence right now, in this body, in this moment. Can we bring full presence to the last minute of our sit? Let's take a beautiful breath, friends. Beautiful breath out. Taking our time to come back gradually. Getting ready to say Kaddish with Mark.
Thank you so much, Mira, for offering us that beautiful gift. And friends, we seal our practice as we always do by offering those who are in mourning or observing a yard site, or if it's your custom, your minhag to participate in Kaddish, to do so, and for everyone else to bear witness to emet, the truth, and to extend chesed, kindness, to those who are in mourning by staying present and being attentive and being here with them. So those who are reciting Kaddish invite you to join me by rising in body or in spirit. Yitgadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
V'amad divra chirutei, v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayei chon, v'yamei chon, v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala, v'vizman kariv, mimru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Barak, Ve'olam Olamei Amaya, Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitramam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shnei dekudashah, v'richus, ha'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, ushbechata v'nechemata, ha'amiran ba'alma, v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba bim shamaya, v'chaim arinu, Ya'kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mroma, hu yahaseh shalom, aleinu v'Ya'kol Yisrael, v'Ya'kol Yoshvei Tevel, v'imru amen. Friends, thanks for joining us today. Many, many thanks to our teacher for today, Mira Neshama Niculescu, to Adi Stein for holding our Mishkan, our sanctuary for practice, as always. Most of all, thanks to all of you for being here, for being present and creating this container for us to engage in practice together. We hope you'll join us again tomorrow or later this week for practice at the same time. If you're able and interested, you're welcome to stay on for conversation with Mira about that beautiful teaching and to reflect on the practice together. For those who are leaving, we hope to see you tomorrow at the usual time. And maybe we can put back into the chat box also the links to the programs that Mira is going to be offering coming up. And we can also offer Mira's contact information as well for those who would like to be in touch and stay informed of her teaching. Well, once again, as always, really beautiful. Mira, thank you so much. I would like to invite you to share a little bit more about kindness. I really appreciate you just, distilling the practice down to its essence for us, kind attention, just paying kind attention to the truth of what's happening. And I think we, in English at least, we all have a sense about what, kindness evokes something for us as a word. And the Hebrew here is chesed. And I just wonder if, I don't know if you have anything more to say about it, but I want to invite you to see if you have more to say about what does that mean? How do we extend chesed, kindness? What does that mean? Does it mean to seeing things in a favorable light? Does it mean giving us the benefit of the doubt? Does it mean it's more than a neutral? It's beyond neutral. It's not a neutral. It's something positive. What do you think?
I think it's a very good question, and it shows us the limits of translation between languages, right? Because concepts are unique,
right?
And I thought about it a lot, and actually, the chesed really is like a 2 words concept, really like loving kindness. Like it's not just a kindness of action. It's not just a kindness due to the quality of the one who's acting, not because I am kind, or not because like tzedakah, because of to do justice. It really is coming from a feeling of connection, actually, love. We talk a lot about the kindness of the chesed of God, the chesed of Abraham. Like every time there are relationships like this that become qualities. And then Hasidism, when we talk about Hasidism, it comes from there. Like the Hasid is the one who loves really the divine and wants to get closer out of really wanting to be in relationship. So it's absolutely not neutral at all. There's something very warm to it.
Yeah, I really do appreciate that. And it's, people do think, many people, I think, can have the impression of mindfulness or mindfulness meditation as really just about concentration or awareness. But it could just as easily be described, and I for myself, prefer for it to be described as a chesed practice, loving kindness practice. of course, you just lifted up chesed, and it meant also truth, a commitment to connection to what is true in our experience, and while being immersed in and practicing chesed. And there is chesed is not an easy word to unpack. There's not like a clear thing. In our in IJS's Tikkun Midot practice, we translate chesed as loving connection. So I appreciated that you lifted it up, that, that and really in more sense is that connection is primary, that connection is primary, and the loving aspect of it emerges from awareness of connection. So that maybe when particularly if there are things that are disturbing to us, like we said, we're really welcoming everything in and treating it with kindness, even the things that we think don't belong there, or we don't like, or are unpleasant, or don't suit us. But I'm staying connected to it. I will I'm not going to deny it. I'm not going to push it away. I'm not going to. So I can stay connected to it, and in staying connected to it, I actually am connected to it. It's my mind that is imagining that I am disconnected from it, and I'm realizing a connection that is there, and maybe the love and kindness. So like, how do we? Again, I feel like I'm putting you on the spot, but I'm going to ask you if, to the extent that you're able to share from your own experience, when you have such thoughts, or whether it's anything from just distractions to something that is like something that you would rather not be thinking about while you're sitting in meditation. How do you meet that? How do you treat that with chesed? Might be helpful for people to hear that, if you're able to share that. Avi, if you're willing to put the question in the chat box, I'll take a look. I see you wanna.
First of all, just to note about the connection thing, I think it's absolutely crucial, and I think that may be why the Pirkei Avot say it's one of the things on which the world stands, because when there is this connection, that's when things start to be destructive, between people, and violence starts with disconnection. So really, connection becomes this kind of existential thing that saves the world. Really, that was just a bracket, because when we were talking about connection. So I'll tell you, in my practice, so one thing I can share, something simple, but I think many people may relate to that, a tendency to judgment, right? To self-judgment. I can't focus, and I couldn't stay present, and here I am again with that thought, or this or that. And I've learned really to, first of all, to see that, because sometimes we think these thoughts and we don't even see ourselves thinking them. Does that make sense? Right? It's like we're judging ourselves and we don't even realize that we're judging ourselves. We're like on the automatic pilot. And so okay, so I'm recognizing, I'm seeing judgment, and I'm connecting to it, and I'm not going to push that away. I'm not going to judge the judge. I'm not going to judge the judgment. I am really, and that's my commitment. I really have a commitment in my practice to meet myself with really unconditional chesed. Unconditional. That's been my practice, is to be unconditional with things I really dislike in myself, when I'm being judgmental of other people, when I'm being jealous, when I'm being envious, when I'm being petty, all these things are just so human. And that I would want to just, cut out or erase or pretend they're not there, or judge myself because I think it's going to help if I judge myself for these things. That's really been the core of my practice. And friends, I'm saying this, it's not even to try to stay present and to think, less thoughts. No, the core of my practice is really to meeting everything that I meet within me with this kind of unconditional loving kindness. Which something I want to specify that's very important, which doesn't mean indulging into thoughts, which doesn't mean, cultivating these thoughts that are not helpful, right? It's very different. You can be very firm in saying, oh, I recognize that, and I don't have to go there, but I also don't have to judge myself for being there. I'm there. And you'll see, like, if you haven't already, but the healing power of a loving kindness gaze upon ourselves. So I hope that kind of answered your question.
Yeah, completely. Then thank
Mm-hmm.
you. Thanks for, thanks for being vulnerable and for sharing that. And, having the judgments about the judgments is also, like, as you mentioned, is really a telltale sign of, oh, here's an opportunity, right? Here's to notice the harshness of the judgment. Here's a question that's a little, maybe it's related. Lori always asks great questions. Lori, I might need a little clarification here. Would you please speak to reconciling truth and wisdom that drives tough love, actions, and decisions versus chesed that would make us feel that we are ethically bound to do what appears to be kind and giving, forgiving. For example, stepping back and allowing a loved one to fail based on their own decisions. So here, that sounds to me like a question about just, Lori is using the word reconciling, but if this is a kindness practice and we're applying this in our lives, I guess maybe, Lori, if I can paraphrase it, it sounds like, where does gavura or setting limits, or that, when truth is, I love you, and the truth is that you're doing something destructive, right?
Yeah.
How do we bring that in? How do truth and kindness meet in this, in that experience?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. First of all, I think tough love can be kind. Tough love can be, actually, sometimes it takes much more chesed to show tough love, like to say no to a child when all we want is to say yes because, like, we feel weak, and or we just want them to stop crying, right? So being tough, actually, sometimes, and I'll say firm, but being firm and setting boundaries demands much more loving kindness, right? And being firm on the outside doesn't mean the heart is hardened. To the contrary, I think oftentimes. So because we tend to, like, think it's two different things, right? I'm gonna say yes and be nice and cool, and that's love. And if I'm like, no, I think love actually is really, sometimes, love is knowing what's the wise response in the moment, what's the skillful response in the moment. And there's no absolute skillful response. It really depends on the moment. And sometimes the wise response is to let go and to stay silent and to let people, as you said, fail, or to let them have, do what they need to do. And sometimes it's to say no. But most of the time we can't say no to someone else about themselves. We can say no about, our own boundaries and etc. But, chesed sometimes demands us to be firm with ourselves so that we're not weak, or so that we're not intrusive, or so that we're not indulging. So I do think that oftentimes we need to reverse the tendency. We need to be counterintuitive very oftentimes. Very often.
Avi Winokur here is pointing out that the phrase chesed ve'emet is really the two together, not separate, not one and the other, but Avi wrote a powerful creative fusion in which the two are not disconnected. And if I could tack onto that, that the chesed, that it usually begins with chesed. The chesed then informs the emet, right? I suppose we don't start with this emet and chesed. It's chesed emet. So throw that. But before we end this, Mira, you had thought maybe you want to play some music. Do you want to still do that or no?
I think so. Thank you for reminding me. I think I'm actually just going to post, unless you want me to share, I could share 1 minute.
Sure.
Should I do that?
Sure.
Okay.
So I think it's really, there are a lot of good questions. There's many things we could talk about.
Yeah.
Let's do a little Havdalah here. And
yeah.
This can be our bisamim, hopefully to infuse the rest of the day with
it's a song.
This sip.
Yeah. Great. It's a song by Jonathan Razel. On this verse, Katanti, and he on all the pasuk, and then I thank you for your questions and sharings, and I just want to say, when just about the question, when people hurting themselves when they're already adults, well, then they're all the more so free and responsible for themselves, and it's difficult, but that's yeah. Okay, friends, I am going to share my sound, and if there's any follow-up, anything important for you that you need to ask, you feel free to be in touch with AGS, and they could get back to you about this. I'm going to share now. Voila. Sorry, I was just checking. I really love this song. Can you hear? I want to invite everyone to close your eyes and hear them with the words and the melody. We have an embodied contemplative practice now with all our senses.
קטונתי מכל החסדים ומכל האמת אשר עשית את עבדך. קטונתי מכל החסדים ומכל האמת אשר עשית את עבדך. קטונתי מכל החסדים ומכל האמת אשר עשית את עבדך. קטונתי מכל החסדים ומכל האמת אשר עשית את עבדך. כי במקלי עברתי את הירדן, עתה הייתי לשני מחנות, הצילני נא, הצילני נא, הצילני נא. כי במקלי עברתי את הירדן, עתה הייתי לשני מחנות, הצילני נא, הצילני נא, הצילני נא. קטונתי מכל החסדים ומכל האמת אשר עשית את עבדך. אני קטונתי מכל החסדים ומכל האמת אשר עשית את עבדך. במקלי עברתי את הירדן, עתה הייתי לשני מחנות, הצילני נא, הצילני נא, הצילני נא. במקלי עברתי את הירדן, עתה הייתי לשני מחנות, הצילני נא, הצילני נא, הצילני נא. כי חסדך גדול עליי, כי חסדך גדול עליי, ויצרת נפשי לשאול תחתיה. במקלי עברתי את הירדן, עתה הייתי לשני מחנות, הצילני נא, הצילני נא, הצילני נא. במקלי עברתי את הירדן, עתה הייתי לשני מחנות, הצילני נא, הצילני נא, הצילני נא. קטונתי מכל החסדים ומכל האמת.
Well, I am glad I asked. If you could can you put the link in the chat here for people who would like to revisit that?
Sure.
That was
Oh,
just
sorry.
uh,
Sorry.
that was just a great gift. Thank you.
Yeah.
So may that serve as besamim, as spices, as sweetness of chesed ve'emet to carry everyone through this week of Vayishlach. And as always, thank you, Mira, so much for the gift of your teaching and presence. And thank you, Adi. Thanks most of all to all of you for being here. And we'll see you tomorrow.